it is my pleasure to bring to this virtual stage from the cast of Game of Thrones, ladies and gents, make some noise for Mr. Julian Glover. Hello. Yay, there he is.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hello. Next coming up, we have Ian McElhinney. Hello. There he is.
Hello.
Followed quickly by Ian Beattie. Hey.
Hello.
Hey,
hi, everybody. Hi.
Next up, we have McArthur.
No, we don't.
Murray's coming. There he is. Hello.
Hey.
And last but certainly not least, we have Miltos. Yerolemou. Oh, I knew I was going to mess this up. I have practiced so much. Yerolemou. I can't do it.
You're a lemon.
Thank you. I was so prepared. The smile happened,
the dog.
and I couldn't do it.
And
It was the dog. That's
I've got the dog of death with me today.
I love it. Now, I do apologize to everyone. Clive couldn't join us today, but hopefully he'll be back to do some of the private messages and the autographs and all that good stuff. But in general, how are you guys doing today? How is 2020 treating you?
Who answers?
Probably.
Look at the face. Everyone's just like, I don't want to answer that right now at all. I totally understand that. That is for sure. But Miltos, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, probably just like everyone else, we're all kind of in the same boat, aren't we? So.
Absolutely. And you guys is everyone in the UK? Is anyone in the United States right now?
No, we're all in the UK, I think, aren't we?
London.
Okay.
Belfast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Yes, Mr. Glover, you were going to say something.
Well, you asked us how we were.
Yes, sir.
We just had the news that the whole country is now going to be closed down as from tonight until December the 2nd.
Good grief.
The whole country. Well, it's tough, but it's got to be done.
Yes, sir.
Some of us are bearing it better than others. I feel very sorry for a lot of people, but I also feel very sorry for the whole of our profession, apart from all the other professions which are being. Because of course, actors, our profession needs a large number of people in front of the curtain and a large number of people behind it, or the camera, whatever.
Absolutely.
So I think we're probably decimated for about 3 years now, wouldn't you guys?
Yeah.
Well, I hope you're wrong there, Julian. I'm hopeful that perhaps this time next year we might be back to some kind of normal, but I don't expect much before then, to be honest.
Right.
I see that Miltos' dog agrees with everything that's been said so far.
It's a genius dog right there. Now, I got to give a shout out to all the people that are watching from all over the world. We literally have people tune in from Dallas, Texas, Portland, Oregon, New Jersey, Manchester, UK, Scotland. Like, we've got people tuned in and love them all. We got Woodstock, Illinois even has tuned in right now. So that's going to be a fantastic one. Okay, so I got to know from a personal standpoint, because this is such a sprawling epic Game of Thrones. Who came to Westeros already familiar through the books? Who had already read the books before you started working on the show? Anyone?
I had not read the books, but whenever I got the part, I thought, well, why didn't I start reading the books?
Okay.
And I was only interested to get some sort of an introduction to it, if you like. But having read book one, which I loved as a book, I felt I got to read on because I'm really enjoying this. And I was also keen to see, because let's face it, we knew the nature of the story. People die. I was also keen to see if I was going to have a life in the story. And I was thrilled to see that at the end of book 5, I was still living. Mind you, the television producers had a different idea, but that's
yeah. We'll definitely get into that. Did anyone else read the books after you were cast?
I definitely I read the first book, and then I read the 2 others over the course of while the show was on too.
Okay.
But I had never heard of it before.
Whenever I get a character like this, well, except for living character, real people who actually live, I never read the books beforehand, I'm afraid. I take what's in that script and play what I think from that script. If I'm off, of course, the director will tell me I'm off. I found that when I have worked with the books, I'm always disappointed. I'm always, they missed out that bit, and they missed out that. Yeah. That was so important, and so this way I don't grumble about it, except when I want to get out of the series and they won't let me. that's another story which we needn't go into now.
Okay. We might save that one for the end. We might have to come back for that one. Did anyone else jump in on this?
I didn't read the books. I have them all, and I do intend to read them. If he ever releases Winds of Winter, then I'll start reading them. My character, believe it or not, is still alive at the end of book 5 as well. So I'm glad I didn't read them.
That's very, very true. Very, very true. And I'm sorry, Murray, you were going to say, have you read them?
I was going to say, I hadn't read the books beforehand, but I found out from my daughter, who was 15 or 16 at the time, about the show, watching it myself. And I was a little surprised. She'd been watching it upstairs in her bedroom on her laptop. And as it went on, I thought, this is pretty inappropriate, really, for my daughter.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Now, have you guys actually watched the series? I mean, I know it's got to be a little strange to watch a show that you're on, but it's such a huge story. Do you watch it, or have you watched it?
Yeah. I've seen every episode at least 5 times.
I have to admit,
I've seen Battle of the Bastards about 10 times. So
yes.
My favorite ever episode.
I've seen bits of it, but I haven't followed it in its entirety. So one of these days, I mean, this is the perfect time. I really should be doing it now, but I haven't yet watched the whole package from beginning to end.
Yes, I agree with that. Absolutely, leave it till the end. However, at the end of each series, maybe other people don't know, we do, we're always given a present at the end of each series, which is quite expensive presents, rather good things. But I don't know why they don't give us the tapes.
Here's the show.
Really have a good look at it. But I found that watching it has been really difficult because you never know when they're going to go out, and if you're not in every single episode, if you're not Cersei or whatever, or any one of the big parts, you don't have a continuous thing, so you don't have to watch it every time. I just think I think it's one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen on television. But I don't watch it all. I just watch bits of it when they come up.
That's fair. I think that's very fair. Despite the fact that it did have a central cast, I think the show did a great job of building the personalities and traits of all the characters, yours included, obviously. How much input did you have in terms of the makeup of your characters and their individual portrayals? And we'll start with Ian M. You're in my corner up at the top here.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, the showrunners were very particular. I mean, you could make a suggestion about something, but at the end of the day, it would always come back to their decision. And they were very strong about what they wanted to do and how they'd written the parts and the dialogue that was in it. So even if you did have a query or a challenge, it was always going to be their decision. And that was fine. That's the way it is. And I mean, obviously their decisions were very good. They were very successful in what they did. So good luck to them.
Of course.
It paid off, didn't it?
Sorry, Julian?
Paid off.
Oh, yes, it definitely played off. For Julian, I'm really like, Grand Maester played this part of a very feeble man, but then we saw, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen this, crazy talk, but saw that he might have been actually, playing down his capabilities. Was that something that you wanted to do, or was that written in?
I wasn't going to bother with this one. But I definitely did have it. After about 2 weeks, I realized that my character could have been absolutely one-dimensional, and all he did was sit around at tables and people was sarcastic about him. And I thought, well, I don't mind people being sarcastic about me, but I want something to do. And I couldn't see anything really important that would come out. So I literally had a dream, whereby I was two people, that I had a life outside this, so I could go with young women and things like that, all sorts of other things. But nobody would know about that. They think I was a frail old silly bugger. But actually, I wasn't. And there was a scene in which you saw that happening early in the series, and then later on you saw it happening again. But that scene was my best scene in the whole series, and they cut it, which was a pity. But that was definitely in a bit of input from me. And after I'd had that dream, the next day I went in, and they said, "We've got this wonderful idea, Julian, that you're two people." And I said, "I can't believe you actually had the same idea." So they did. So I know that a lot of people didn't know it and didn't see it, and maybe they missed that one episode or whatever. But I knew, and I knew, so I knew what I was I was inside, and
of course.
So it gave me something to stand on.
Of course, it keeps the portrayal authentic. I love that. Ian B, how about you?
Well, my character. No, I mean, David and Dan were very, very clear on what they wanted from any individual actor at any given time. And I remember, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, I remember you get a phone call at the start of the season, basically to tell you, Valar Morghulis, chum, that's it for you. So I got a phone call while I was on holiday up in Donegal, and they said, well, two things. One, we're going to get to see a really nasty side to your character. And I thought, oh, great, I'm going to get to kill somebody popular before I die. And then they also said, your death scene is going to be spectacular, which it was. And I still think it's the most expensive individual death ever filmed on Game of Thrones, as far as I know. That's still the case. So that's very proud of that. But anytime, you know, if you had a question about your character, you spoke to David or you spoke to Dan, and they would have an answer. Simple as that. There wasn't anything.
Beattie, you're saying your death was more valuable than anybody else's? Is that what you're saying?
Whoa. Expensive. Most
expensive death filmed. David and Dan said that at one of the big Comic Cons when they were asked a question, what was the most expensive death? And they actually said, me.
That's a great question as well, and a great answer.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, especially considering what it cost us, the fans, in terms of who you killed as well. Saying that, Miltos, how do you throwing that back to you? Did you get to bring some things?
I remember just before we filmed the scene, the very first lesson with Arya. And it was the very first, we shot it quite early on in the whole shoot of the first season, because it was one of the first things that Maisie did. And I remember before we started shooting, I just David and Dan, and I said, David and Dan, I haven't asked you, and you haven't told me anything about how you would like me to play this character. And I've just been doing my own thing since, because my audition, my casting tape was the very first lesson, which is a 3.5-minute scene for an audition. So it kind of encapsulates my whole character in that one scene. And they just said, look, just do it the way you did it in the audition. Now, you know, as I don't know if you know this, but most actors, when you're doing auditions, you've barely learnt it. Right. Because you don't have a lot of time. So, and it was a long scene. So for me, it was trying to hold it in my head was all the effort I was putting into it. But they just said, just do it the way you did it in the casting, because that's why we cast you. And that was literally the only directive I got. Oh, put more tango in the fight moves as well. That's the other thing.
The accent that you had, though, is such a beautiful blend of regions. How did y'all come up with that?
That started with me doing an impersonation of my dad.
Wow.
And my father is a Greek Cypriot, and he speaks in a very broken, even though he lived in the UK for 25 years, you know, he has a very particular accent. So I think whenever I do a lot of characters where I have to play, you know, someone who's not first language isn't English, right?
Right.
And I think I always start, like some actors say, they always start with the shoes when it comes to creating a character. I always start with doing an impersonation of my dad, and then just kind of start to.
How close to my dad is this character? Let's get a little closer, a little further. I love that. That's amazing.
Also, of course, I didn't want it to be specific because, of course,
right.
So that's the reason why.
That's amazing.
Even to this day, I cringe whenever I hear myself roll those R's.
Oh, no, we love it. We love it. Murray, what about you? Did you get to add a lot to as an elder of the free people? What was the kind of defining character there?
Well, if you're talking about the death scene, obviously I didn't.
No, not the death scene, because you're one of the few that you don't have one.
I think I was supposed to have one because I pledged my allegiance in The Broken Man, the episode.
Right.
The Broken Man, to Jon Snow and Tormund, and me and the rest of the wildlings will fight to the death for him, King Crow, all that kind of stuff. But they actually changed the date where they're filming the Battle of the Bastards, which I think I was being set up to have a glorious death in, or a minor death off in the distance.
Right.
And they changed the dates, and with Ian Beattie, I think, although he probably doesn't know it, doing Barbarians Rising in Bulgaria. It was supposed to be filmed, so I couldn't do it. And I thought, oh, it's gone. I haven't got this big scene, but so it's fine. And as it turned out, there were too many other people dying to worry about me.
Yeah.
I never did have a glorious death. But then the worst bit about that was I sort of lived in optimism that the next two series, that somehow this, this sad little wildling was going to come back in, and he never did, but never mind.
Listen, he's still living in my heart. I still believe he's out there.
I'm still out there in the cold,
Exactly.
Berries and things.
In the true north, that's where you are. We got a question from the fans that asked, what was your first day on set like? And let's see, who is technically the elder in terms of being on the show first? Who technically counts?
I think I was.
Okay. Well, then let's start with you, sir.
Am I right, Janice?
I think you may be.
Yeah.
Between you and Ian.
Right.
I was certainly the oldest person in it, character in it, but I think I was there right from the very beginning. Was everybody?
Yes, I was there. I was
too for the read through, but I think you probably must have shot some scenes before.
Yeah.
We did.
I think you would have been there before any of us. I think. Yeah.
Well, yes, sir. What was your first day like?
My first day, I killed Miltos.
That's true. That's true.
It was my first day.
Wow.
Funny enough, I'd heard the fan theory, because I obviously done a wee bit of research, and I'd heard the fan theory was the first Sword Master of Bravos still alive? And I asked David and Dan, and they said, no.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, we did hope against hope that maybe you were the man without a face. Like we had so many wishes for Syrio to come back, but that's the nature of Game of Thrones right there. I mean,
that Dave and Dan also trolled you lot. They trolled you. Because they knew about the fan theory in the books. They knew about it. Of course because they're nerds, and Cogman as well is also, he's a giant nerd, one of the writers, and I'm convinced. I don't know this, directly, because they never said it directly, but I'm sure they trolled the fans with the whole Syrio thing.
Of course.
Because Syrio has nothing to do with the Faceless Men and the idea of the religion. He never mentions it once in the books, but they deliberately wrote a scene because Syrio is spoken about in the first book rather than you get the POV with Arya. I think you get those two scenes and that's it, beginning and end. And they said, just for continuity, we should just write a scene and just, put it in the middle. And they wrote this scene about the god of death, which of course, will haunt me until the very day I die. But that is all about, that is the religion that the Faceless Men talk about. And so I'm convinced they trolled the fans by putting that little reference in and making everyone go, oh God, he said the thing. So they thought that.
Nothing to do with anything.
Stokes the fire.
That's genius. As a creative, that's the way to do anything. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did all of you guys, did you all, I did, and I know a couple of other people did, go to Dan and at the end, towards the end of a series, and say, do I survive the next one? And you hoped you'd get a positive answer. Did you all get that? Did you all do that?
I think I was just aware that my role was just...
I did do that. And it came really to me on the end of episode 4 when I didn't want to do 5 for a reason I needn't go into it. Well, yes, I will go into it. I so hated that Cersei and being ticked off by Cersei all the time. I thought that's all I'm doing here, so I'm not going to do any more of this. And they said, you could be in the next series. I said, I don't, and I don't. Well, you must be. No, I mustn't. I'm alive on my own. I said, well, we've got this wonderful scene for you. I said, oh, wait, can I see the scene? No, of course you can't. You know, that privacy thing that we've got, because you've got, and until I said, well, that's the end of that then. And to cut the long story short, they sent me the scene and it was my death scene.
Oh my goodness.
Talk of death scenes. And I said, I'm on.
This is the way. This is the way.
And, not as good as Charlie Dance's. Oh, I do hope he got lots and lots of money for being shot on the loo.
I mean, that's, you know, that's, yeah, if there's a way to go, that's really not the one that you want. That is so unregal. That's the worst.
What you always know, no, you don't know. You find things in the episodes before you that key in and lock into. Suddenly you do something and you realize it was in 4 episodes before. There was a hint of that coming up.
Right.
And the fact that I was, I think I was the oldest man, seriously, the oldest character in the show. And the fact that I was killed by children was a wonderful irony, I thought.
Of course.
That's Dan and Dave. They did that. I'm sure they found that irony in there, and that's why they did that particular death.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I've got quite a good story about death on the show. At the start of season 2, my first day on set, David Benioff walked up and said, "You might have heard you're dying this season." And I was like, "No, no." He said, "Well, don't worry." He said, "You're not." And what had happened was one of the writers, I think it was Brian Cogman, had written the episode Blackwater. And he had written it that I try to kill Tyrion, Sir Meryn, and Pod kills me. And when David and Dan read it, said, no, we need him. We're keeping him. We have other things in store for him. And then David said, "You're going to die." He said, and this is season 2. He said, "You're going to die." He said, "And Arya's going to kill you."
That's amazing.
Anybody for 3 years. I didn't breathe a word for 3 years.
I didn't realize you knew it so early.
Yeah.
That
must be, Ian, that must be the most tight-lipped you've ever been in your life.
Thank you, Lord McElhinney.
Well, that's a good secret held. That really is. That really is. Just to keep things going, we got some more questions from the audience, so I want to ask these. Miguel is asking, do you believe that the way the writers changed the show from what was written in the books was a good way to go, or would you have liked to have seen things a little bit closer to what the books had?
You know, it's very hard to answer that if you haven't followed the whole series.
True.
Obviously, sadly, as Julian said earlier, if you've read the books, you always feel, oh, why did they do that? Why did they miss that? Why did they just get rid of that character, whatever? Personally, I have to admit, people know this as I've said it so often now, I personally was disappointed because I had expectations from the books, especially in terms of season 5, that never came to fruition for my character. And I was disappointed about that.
Of course.
But, you know, that's history now, so what the heck.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anyone else?
I suppose since I haven't read the books, I can't really comment on it. But I thought, you know, what they did was television history. I thought their stuff was absolutely superb. I've seen all episodes many times, and I know there was many fans who were a bit disappointed with the end. Personally speaking, I wasn't. I just thought it was remarkable. I thought the whole thing was remarkable from start to finish.
Excellent. Did you all feel the same?
I would have liked to see Lady Stoneheart in it.
Okay.
But it's such a hard thing to do.
True.
I mean, as far as, you know, things working on the page and you know, in that world, and then trying to fit that
into the reality structure. Yes.
Because, you know, and I really understand why they didn't. I really understand why they didn't do it. But I thought it was a great, you know, because I don't know the books really well, but I know that.
Gotcha. Of course.
I really liked it. I liked the sound of it.
Of course. Mr. Glover, you were going to say?
Well, I was going to say that, as I said before, I didn't watch it all. But whenever I've turned it on and caught there's an episode tonight, I'll watch it. Every single episode I saw was superbly done. Absolutely superbly done. I can't comment upon the veracity of the whole series of books or upon the veracity of the whole series. All I know is that whenever I saw it, it was superb. And I have to say that the actors department was really, they were so clever with their casting.
Absolutely.
And I that's why I was so very flattered to be asked to be in it.
Of course.
When I saw the talent around me, and then saw what they were doing with it. I mean, the sets and everything were fantastic. We know all that. The fights and the money they spent on it was not quite enough in my case. the attitude to it was so wonderful from the two producers and writers, and that's why they got it right. And that's why, as you were saying earlier, they were so precise about what they wanted. They knew exactly, and you weren't allowed to have one syllable of dialogue wrong, were you? At the end of it, you could be doing a two-page scene, and if you got an and instead of a but, you did the scene again.
That's right.
They knew precisely what they meant, what they wanted.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Murray, I have a question for you. Everyone else was associated with a house in the world of Westeros. Obviously, being a part of the Free People, you were not. Is there a house that you would have associated with freely? Obviously, before the conjoining with the Starks after you guys crossed over the wall. Is there one that you would have been like, definitely, I'm a Lannister, I'm Targaryen? Which house would you have been a part of?
No, absolutely not. I refuse to kneel.
That's right. I love that. What about the rest of you guys?
Going back to the beginning of the book, my character wouldn't have existed if they'd stuck to the book. So
also true. You're like, no, change it all. I'm here.
Yeah, no, creativity is a good thing, but no, I'd never kneel to anyone's house, join a house. I don't like that. Joining people's houses.
I love that.
You would in real life, Murray.
Yeah, exactly. But what's the thing that Groucho Marx says about if I wouldn't want to join any club that would have me?
That's brilliantly said.
That's
brilliantly said. I love that. So are the rest of you happy with your house associations? Would you have wanted to be a part of another one?
I love the Lannisters. I just love them. I was delighted to be part of the Lannister house.
Nice.
As a reader, I was always a fan of the Stark house. You know, that would have been the house as a reader that I would have identified with.
That's awesome.
As a character, I loved, obviously the whole being part of the Stark story is fantastic. But I really liked the Lannisters too.
They were fun. They're a lot of fun. Super colorful.
Part of the storyline which I found the most interesting because it's all about intrigue and never knowing who's going to stab. The politics of that whole world was really drew me.
Absolutely brilliant. I love it.
Got it from Shakespeare, got it from Shakespeare.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Jeannie 4 wants to know, what was your favorite location to shoot for this series?
Dubrovnik for me. I loved Dubrovnik. It was absolutely glorious.
That's awesome.
We were there quite a long time, and I really loved it. Loved the people.
Loved the city.
Wonderful.
I love that.
I was just in Northern Ireland in the studios, but it was my first time spending any time in Northern Ireland, and I really, really loved that.
That's brilliant.
It's a great country, isn't it? Northern Ireland.
We'll have to ask the two Ians. What's that quarry where all the stuff's done?
Macklemore.
Okay. I was only ever in Macklemore, but people with beards, we spend our lives in muddy fields. Never going to go anywhere sunny. I've just come back from another job where I spent my life up a mountain in mud.
I think
I'd like to go anywhere that it wasn't muddy. How about that?
Just as a location, my favorite location day was probably, it was a tough day, but it was a fantastic location, was an oasis in the Moroccan desert.
Wow.
Warsaw. And it's just a beautiful location. I remember traveling back at the end of the day, and this was November time. So there was snow in the mountains, but there's this wonderful sort of like pink-orange glow in the sky, and there's sort of blue on the hills. And brown in the desert, and just the range of colors. It was fabulous. It was just
beautiful
location.
That is amazing. Oh my goodness, that's Ooh, that's breathtaking. Okay, so we've talked about the death scenes quite a bit. Where besides your own, obviously, was there a death in the show that really got you, that really struck you, where you didn't think that they were going to go that way when they did?
Killing of the pregnant woman.
Red Wedding was
that absolutely, it appalled me. I couldn't go on watching television after I saw that. It was so violent.
Yes.
Because it was so casual.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
It wasn't, I am now going to kill someone who's having a baby. It was wallop.
Right. Just brutal.
I was
absolutely brutal.
Appalled by that.
I don't know that there's been a scene, even in actual war movies, as devastating as the Red Wedding seemed to affect people. Is that something that you guys hear as a response to the show?
Well, the scale of the Red Wedding was, I think, what was most devastating. It is even in the book, you just don't see this coming, that all these, what apparently are key characters are all going to go.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, you should have known, because they'd already done it to the guy who was supposedly going to be your hero for the whole story, which was Ned Stark. But probably the most individually moving death scene in the whole story was Hodor. I thought that was fabulous, and the whole door. It was. I just thought that was so moving. It was very powerful.
Wonderfully done. Absolutely.
Such a surprise.
Yeah, and surprise. I mean, I've seen that scene 2, 3, 4 times, and every time it reduces me to tears. I kid you not. Stunning scene.
Absolutely. Oh man, that's such a. You're right. That kind of gave me a chill on that one. Amy wants. Oh, yes, sir.
About the deaths, I thought that the most wonderfully outrageous death, and taking the risk. That risk was so enormous.
Mm-hmm.
Was the death of Sean, of course, at the very beginning. And when the script was first read by all of us, we thought that can't happen. You'd read it there, but it wasn't going to. That's going to be something that's going to happen. And when it actually happened in front of your very eyes,
right,
Malta, and his head came. Well, we didn't see it come off, but that's another thing. How they prepared you for his beheading by having the beheading of that horse beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So you got all that. It was you put that straight onto his death. And I couldn't believe the bravery of the producers of killing off their hero, killing off Hamlet in the middle of the play scene. And
Yes.
Absolutely extraordinary. But what, of course, happens is that he lives on. He goes on and on and on. That character is always being referred to as a sort of an ideal thing, or an ideal bad person.
Absolutely.
I thought that was the most wonderful, brave storytelling. Shut up, Julian.
No, not even. Right. No, when you're right, sir. So no, absolutely. Let's see. Amy is asking for Ian. She didn't specify which one, so I'm hoping that you have conflicting answers on this one. It's gonna be amazing. What was it like working with Lena Headley?
Well, I think it has to be Ian Beattie on that, because I had only one scene with Lena, so I think it's largely Ian Beattie on that.
Cersei was my favorite character in the show, for a start, to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I was her man, Sir Meryn was her man. But I have to say, Lena was wonderful in every which way possible. She is a gorgeous, beautiful woman, wonderful sense of humor, and she was just absolutely fantastic. It was an absolute privilege to work with her.
That's amazing. Love to hear that. Okay, so going back to the overall context of the show, what do you think was actually the biggest threat to Westeros? Was it the White Walkers, literally House Lannister, or Dany and the Dragons? Which do you really feel, having experienced as much of the show as you have, was the real threat to the show or to the people?
I would say Dany and the Dragons.
Okay.
I would say Daenerys. My own personal opinion is Daenerys,
I think I agree about the dragons, because the dragons were something outside human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you never knew which way they were going to jump. always pro her, of course. But
Right.
you never knew what they were going to do. And I thought that those dragons could destroy the whole world. If she told them to, they could do it. And that's the answer to your question.
Of course. No, of course. Anyone else?
Yeah, well, my answer very often at the Comic-Cons in the past, when asked, what's the likely ending of this story, I was always saying, well, effectively a Holocaust brought on by the dragons,
Yeah. Which is
I also like the fact that it ties in Dany, who is obviously someone we're supposed to want to be our protagonist and to be our heroine, and yet her mission is to take back the throne.
Right.
You also know, Miltos, that she has a very dodgy lineage.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's always a possibility, like
always on the cusp.
Marbles, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that makes it much more of a threat because it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yes.
As you were saying.
Absolutely. Murray, as a member of the Wildlings, I'm really curious about your answer here, because it seems like you would maybe have a different perspective from everyone else.
I was going to say the White Walkers, but I don't think there's a lot of similarities if you think about what's happening now as well.
Right.
Something that passes from person to person.
Wow.
It's something we didn't foresee in the real world. And, same thing could have happened then.
So I'm going to get me a mask of dragon glass just to keep myself safe. That's a really good one. Aaron Glover asks, did you keep anything from set? Who's willing to admit what they have? Who took something from set? Ideally speaking, something that won't be asked for back if this ever gets played by the powers that be.
As far as I was aware, we weren't allowed to take anything from set, and I have to admit, in my own case, I didn't. I was good.
Okay.
Me neither. I wanted the leather jacket that was underneath the Kingsguard outfit. That's the one thing I would have loved to have taken home with me, but unfortunately, on my last day, which was my last day,
right?
Quite unusual, because sometimes you can film your day at scene halfway through the series, and you're back the next week. But my last day was, in fact, my last day. And of course, I didn't have the Kingsguard outfit on, so I couldn't steal it.
I kept a pair of socks.
You took a pair of socks?
I did, yeah.
That's right.
I would have loved to have my chain of office, which nobody believed how heavy it was. It was actually all made of iron, literally of iron. And it was so heavy, I had to have a wrestler's belt on and tie it to the back in order to stop it pulling my head off.
Wow.
So I'd like to have had that to show people. Excuse me. That thing was,
yes.
People say you had a lovely comfy costume with a lovely long dress and everything, and no armor. No, indeed, I didn't have any armor. That must have been awful wearing those armor, particularly in Dubrovnik and those foreign places. But my thing was so uncomfortable. I had to sit down between each take, not just because I'm an old man, but I really had to take the weight off it.
Oh my goodness.
That's why I would like to have had that. But I didn't get it.
We might have to work on that. We might have to raid a warehouse or something. Miltos, what about you? Yes.
I wanted even a piece. Ian, do you remember how many times he broke that sword every time you smacked it? And there was loads of bits of it with handles on it, and I just wanted to take one of those, but I absolutely no way.
Man.
But I was really lucky, and the guys who made the sword for the show made me one special.
That's awesome.
So I actually got one because I moaned about it so much.
Squeaky wheel, guys. That's the way. That is absolutely the way.
You are very privileged. You must be one of the few who got anything to keep after that was all over.
I know, but they made that. You know, the company that made it, they made it later on. It wasn't something that HBO owned at the time, so they made it specially. So that's the reason.
What have they done with it all? Is it all in storage then? Anyone know?
It goes on museum tours.
It could well be ending up in Banbridge very soon. They're going to open this big centre in Banbridge, which will be the next kind of big museum place that people might visit in Northern Ireland. And it's going to be on the site of the old mill where some of the shooting was actually done.
Amazing.
And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that stuff ends up in there. I don't know what's planned for that, but it's going to come. God knows with COVID what will happen, but I think it's scheduled to open in September of next year or something like that.
Yeah. They do lots of big tours up there, don't they? There's still, big tours.
Yeah.
Well, we're winding down on our time, but before we get out of here, I first want to acknowledge the passing of a true cultural icon, as it was announced today. Sir Sean Connery passed, and I know, Julian, you worked with him in the Last Crusades, the Indiana Jones series. If you all have any experiences having worked with him besides Julian, please, this is an opportunity to give a gem to an absolute legend. Can I start? Yes, please, sir. Yes, sir.
I've known Sean since he was a very young man. We did a series in England called a very brave series called An Age of Kings, which was all Shakespeare's history plays. And I terribly wanted to play the part of Hotspur, who is this wonderful hot-headed character, marvelous. And I really thought I was going to get it until this ghastly bloke came along called Sean Connery, and he got it. However, that formed the basis for a very good, not detailed, not in depth, but a very good relationship between the two of us. So when I came to meet him in Indiana Jones, it really was a big hug meeting, and we were very good. In fact, I was told about it today when I was in the car. And my wife was driving. I said, "You've got to stop the car for a minute, stop the car." But it's the passing of a very, very, very big, important, muscular member of our profession. And he will be much missed, but we all go, and so did Garrick before him. And but to say goodbye to Sean is quite a shock.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
To my everlasting regret, I never met Sir Sean. But I noticed that Liam Cunningham, who plays Sir Davos, put a tweet in saying, it's said that you shouldn't meet your heroes. Sir Sean Connery was a complete exception and a wonderful, wonderful man. And Liam had worked with him. I'm not sure what he'd worked with him on, whether it was First Night or whatever it was. But Liam had just the most remarkable things to say about the man.
That's wonderful.
And that goes to show you what sort of a legend that man was.
Absolutely.
Absolute legend.
Absolutely.
There was some amazing stuff that he did as well. I mean, I know he's obviously most famous for James Bond, but what's that black and white movie? Is it The Hill?
The Hill is brilliant. Brilliant.
Oh, The Hill, yes.
He's sensational in that.
Yeah.
And if anyone hasn't seen that, really check that out. It's a fantastic film as well.
Brilliant film. Funny enough, one of my favorite films of all time is The Man Who Would Be King.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a great movie. That's a good one. Guys, thank you so very much for that. Obviously, it wasn't on the docket, but it's definitely something I think should be acknowledged. I mean, again, his role in so many different films, in acting period, is, like I said, truly legendary, inspirational. And if we could, just for like 7 seconds, 007 seconds, just be quiet for just a moment in honor of Sir Sean Connery, I'd appreciate that. So we'll start right now. Thank you, guys. Thank you so very much for that. Thank you in general for your time, your energy, your talent. I so hope that the world opens back up and we can experience more of your work. But seriously, on behalf of myself, Wizard World, thank you guys for being here. As a quick aside to the fans, don't forget, if you're watching live or watching later on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, please check out those paid exclusive experiences like one-on-one private video chats, custom recorded messages, all kinds of cool stuff at wizardworldvirtual.com. We've got a number of different things coming this week. Tomorrow, especially, we've got a 60s celebration. And then next weekend, we've got X-Men the Animated Series. We got a 2-for back-to-back with all the stars. It's going to be fantastic. Starship Troopers, Land of the Lost. And then on Sunday, we're following up with Baywatch. So we've got all the fun things for you guys. Once again, I'm Victor Dandridge. We're buzzing, man. We're buzzing with it all. It's fantastic. Once again, I'm Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics, saying thank you to everyone tuning in. Once again, for the cast of Game of Thrones, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. Gentlemen, thank you so very much.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Hi, this is Aaron Ashmore, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe like now. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.